Well, they say old men love to sit around and talk about the weather, and that's kind of what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the weather. We started out this winter with hardly any snow, although we did have one blizzard, which I have a video about it. Then springtime, we really didn't get much rain, and here it is, the middle of August, August 18th, 2022, and we just got upgraded to an extreme drought. We've hardly had any rain at all this summer compared to last summer, where we had flooding rains and it was raining just about every other day. So as you saw by the opening graphic, there are 5 measures to a drought. You have dry, moderate, severe, extreme, and then exceptional. Somewhere between extreme and exceptional, you will start seeing crop failures, and I'll show you some pictures in a little bit. But as you can see behind me and the opening shots, this is a pond that I normally go trout fishing in early in the springtime. Right where I'm standing, I would probably be in about 1 foot to 2 feet of water. That's how far it is actually down. The water usually along the bridgeway here is where the water level comes up to. And as you can see, we're probably about a good 5 to 10 feet on the shoreline of where it's just totally dry. Out towards that way, over towards the beaver dam, you can practically walk across that. The opening shots that I've shown you over at the swimming area, about usually the first cinder block to hold the rope down section would be underwater. So yeah, we are actually in a really bad dry period. They say if this continues, within about 2 to 3 weeks, we could actually hit the exceptional status. And I'll show you exactly what's going on with some of the trees and everything. Bad part about this is also it could mean an early autumn for us. Last year, autumn colors were late. This year, at the second week of August, I'm going to show you some trees that are already starting to turn from the drought. Now, that signals that we're getting into crop failure status of how bad the drought actually is. We've had dry years before, but it is actually getting really, really bad. Matter of fact, there's a kid fishing over there, and he's actually sitting where it would be underwater right now. So let me show you something. Okay, so we have the bridgeway right here, and let me pan down a little bit. Usually the water is covering the top of this outlet. That would be about 6 inches or so underwater. You can see the trout swimming around. And as you can see, it's down about a good almost 2 feet from that. So that's how dry it actually is right now. So we did get some rain a couple days ago. We got about 2/10 of an inch, which added some water to this, but they said the majority of this pond you could practically walk across. Okay, so to give you another perspective, usually when I am fishing this pond, I am standing right about here where this taller grass is. This is usually the water level. As you can see, I'm walking down, and I don't want to get really into the deep mud, but I just probably walked down another, good 7 feet, and I've still got another foot or two before I actually hit the water, but it's way too muddy. I would actually sink in. So just to give you another perspective. So to show you another perspective, everywhere that you see dirt along the shoreline, just to the right of the high grass, that's usually all underwater. So now I'm going to zoom in and actually show you something. These pine trees are usually full of green needles. Normally it is hard to see the picnic areas up across the pond once these trees are filled in. A lot of the pine trees have actually started dropping branches and dropping their needles. We had the heat, 100-degree heat for 12 days, which pine trees are usually not used to. So you can see the devastation that this is actually occurring. This past April, just after winter, these pine trees did not look like this. They were a little bit fuller. So I'm actually up along the dirt road now that's behind the pond. And you can see by this underbrush right here, this is not autumn setting in. This is all from the drought. And they said with the autumn colors starting to come in already because of the drought status, it might be possible we don't have good autumn colors this year, as the trees will start to brown and drop their leaves very early. Alrighty, so this is a field that I sometimes bring my dog for a walk in. And as you can see, it's pretty well brown, looking like November. So here you can see how burnt up this underbrush is. All dry, yellow, dying already. Should be green this time of year, but not with this drought. As you can see, where the grass is growing and where that cross is, that's usually all underwater right about now. This is actually starting to look like the beginning of October when they usually start draining this pond, or this reservoir rather. This is a reservoir, so it gets drained during the winter months for the snowfall, and so it won't flood and to keep it clean and everything. But all that over there with grasses is usually all underwater right now, and like I said, it's looking like pretty much like the beginning of October. So usually where I'm standing right now is actually all underwater. Kind of give you another perspective. You can see the water line on that rock where it usually is at this time of year. So these shots are from my neighborhood. As you can see how brown the grass is, how stressed everything is. Mom's flowers are dying. My poor raspberry plant, my blueberry bush, stressed leaves, stressed plants. So because of these conditions, our town has issued several water bans and several fire bans. This is all as a result of several fires that have occurred across our town alone. At the time of recording this, there has been 9 brush fires alone in our town.
This is quite a big one though.
Yeah. All right, so I don't know if this camera is actually picking up the smoke, but we got quite the brush fire going. You can see the fire trucks were blocking the road and I couldn't get through. So there is a road that runs between this cove section on the lake up to Barberville High School, and it's actually back in the woods up in that area. I'm actually on private property right now because I saw a lady out watching it. She said this is the 3rd fire that they had. They had one on Blackhawk Road and one up on the other side of the lake this morning. They had to bring the pontoon boat to show the fire department where it was. But yeah, they got quite a fire up in the woods. I'm going to circle around over by East Ave and by the high school, see if I can see anything up through there. But most of the fire trucks are down there. So yeah, this is the result of the exceptional, well actually extreme. We haven't reached exceptional status yet, but we might hit exceptional status in about 2 to 3 weeks if this continues. But yeah, quite the brush fire going on up in the woods that I usually hike and hunt this time of year. So this particular fire that you're watching on Spring Lake Black Hut Management Area has scorched 8 acres of land. It was still smoldering a few days later. They said it could take months to put out all the hot spots and rekindling. And at last report, it had expanded up to 10 acres being totally burnt up in the woods. This is a result of a campfire that was actually extinguished properly. So I'm going to talk about this in a minute about your campfires. So most of these fires have occurred by campfires and fire pits like the one pictured below. And campfires are actually a joy to have to cook over, to roast marshmallows and such. But as you can see by this picture, the underneath of the campfire gets very hot with coals. This heat goes very far down into the ground. So no amount of water that you pour on a campfire this time of year with this much of a drought is going to be able to absorb that deep to extinguish properly. The soil just will soak up the water and the underground's going to remain hot. What happens is with the underground remaining hot, the fire will burn underground and pop up in other areas. So we are seeing 9 brush fires in our town from properly extinguished campfires rekindling and popping up in other areas. It's pretty bad when a town has to issue the above statement to include what is not allowed in a burn ban. At the end of this video is going to be a link to another video that was put out by an overlander that actually shows the devastation from a fire, how they occur and such. I suggest that you watch this video to see how much devastation can actually occur. So please be very, very careful. Do not burn until the burn is lifted. Be careful of these dry conditions and just pray that we get some rain soon. I will see you in the next video.